The road we're on is paved in Garth.
Come along on the journey
as we explore
Garthology.
Think of it more as a conversation. I like that. So if this is truly a conversation, then I say let the conversation begin. Showtime!
Hey everyone, it's Deb. Welcome back to another episode of Garthology. Today, it's just me to finish the discussion of which songs have made Garth a superstar. Which merit his superstardom? What do you think? I know my thoughts, which I'll give at the end of today's episode, but let's continue with the list. As I discussed in a previous episode, I found this list while I was researching a different episode, and I thought it was so interesting it really caught my attention, and so I decided I just had to do episodes about it. So this list was found on Coyote Country LV.com. If you're interested, go check it out. The list is titled Garth Brooks 30 Songs That Merit His Superstardom, which I thought was a really interesting concept. In the previous episode, I discussed numbers 30 through 16 on their list, so today I'll continue with songs 15 through number 1. Song number 15 on their list is More Than a Memory. This is a great hit written by Lee Brice, Billy Montana, and Kyle Jacobs. It actually made history, becoming the only country single to debut at number 1 on the Billboard Hot Country Singles and Songs chart. This song was Garth's 51st single and the first single from his third compilation album, The Ultimate Hits. Sadly, one of the songwriters, Kyle Jacobs, recently passed away, and we send all of our thoughts and prayers to his wife, Kelly Pickler. Song number 14 on the list is Dive Bar with Blake Shelton. This is a great song. I loved it the moment I heard it. I think it's one of Garth's best rockin' duets. And this went really well with the Dive Bar tour that he was doing that started in 2019 before the pandemic. So I agree with this song being on the list. I think it's a little higher up there than I would have put it, but I think it's a wonderful song. Song number 13 is The Thunder Rolls. Now, you all know we've talked about this song a lot on our podcast. I think it's one of Garth's very best songs. It's obviously one of his most popular songs. And as we talked about in a previous episode, in case you haven't heard it, this song, The Thunder Rolls, was originally recorded by Tanya Tucker. Can you believe that? She never released it. Well, she ended up releasing it on a later album after Garth did it. But prior to Garth releasing it, she had recorded it and never released it. It's just crazy to think that The Thunder Rolls started with someone else. Number 12 on the list is Two of a Kind, Workin' on a Full House. This song, off of the No Fences album, which is one of my favorite albums, is so great. I can't imagine Garth having a career without this song. It's definitely one of the best songs live, and I completely agree with where it is on this list. I think they did a great job picking a wonderful song. Song number 11 on the list is Shameless. Now, I have to say, this song is not high enough on the list for me. I think it's definitely 1 or 2. You all out there, if you've heard our previous episodes, you know I said that this is the song my husband and I danced to at our wedding. So obviously number 11 doesn't work for me. I think it should be higher up. This classic Garth song was actually a remake of a Billy Joel song and one of my favorite Garth songs ever. Number 10 on the list is To Make You Feel My Love. As we've talked about previously, this was on the Hope Floats movie soundtrack, which I'm certain Pete still has not watched that movie, but it's a fantastic movie. If you out there have not watched it, I highly suggest you do it. This hit, written by Bob Dylan, given to Billy Joel to record, and then later Dylan recorded it himself, and then so did Garth. Also, on the soundtrack for Hope Floats, Trisha Yearwood did her own version. And in case you haven't heard, Garth recently released his Anthology Part 2 book, which now includes a duet of To Make You Feel My Love by Garth and Trisha. This was never previously released. Garth said he didn't even remember recording it. Trisha reminded him of it, and Garth included it in his Anthology 2 book. So if you haven't heard it, that version is fantastic. I highly recommend you get his Part 2 anthology so that you can get that exclusive release of To Make You Feel My Love, the duet by Garth and Trisha. Number 9 on the list is If Tomorrow Never Comes. One of Garth's most classic songs from his debut album, which, when you think about it, that debut album is amazing. For that to be someone's first album and all the great songs that are on it, including If Tomorrow Never Comes, it's just amazing. What a terrific album that is. This number 1 song for Garth was only his second single ever released. I'm not sure that number 9 on the list is the right place for this. I probably would have put it a little bit higher on my list, but still obviously proves that Garth merits his superstardom. Number 8 on the list is Standing Outside the Fire. Now, I have to say, I love this song, don't get me wrong. We've talked about it before, you all know that. I do think number 8 is a little high for this song. I probably would have put it maybe a little lower, higher, whatever, somewhere maybe in the top 15. I don't know if it's number 8 for me, but it's a timeless song talking about social justice, and the times that we were living in when this song came out were obviously a struggle. And so I will always appreciate this song and the message that it puts out to everyone. Fantastic song. Proves that Garth deserves his superstardom. Absolutely. Number 7 on the list is Callin' Baton Rouge. This song, released in 1994, is amazing. It's absolutely a showstopper when you see Garth live. It came off of his In Pieces album and charted number 1, of course. This is classic Garth. I think it's at the perfect spot on this list. It solidified Garth as a superstar. Number 6 is Papa Loved Mama. Now, this is a murder song. Let's not, get this wrong. We know it all is, but it's fantastic. I still laugh about the fact that, ultimately this song is about murder, but it's such a great song. It's classic Garth. It's something that in concert will always be some of my favorite moments, and they happen during this song. Garth is so fantastic at it. It actually only went to the top 5 in 1992, which surprises me looking back, but great song, absolutely perfect spot on this list. It solidified Garth as a superstar for sure. Number 5 on the list is Shallow with Trisha Yearwood. Now, this song, as you all know, I actually think that Trisha and Garth's version of this song is better than the original of Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. But I don't think this is the right spot on this list for this song. I don't think that this song deserves to be in the top 5 of songs that make Garth a superstar, because he was a superstar long before this song ever came out. So I dispute this position on here. I'm not saying it shouldn't be in the top 30, but I don't think it deserves to be in the top 5, especially above some of the other songs that I've already mentioned. So great song, love it, don't think it's in the right spot. Number 4 is Unanswered Prayers. This ballad, released in October of 1990, went straight to number 1. I mean, none of us are surprised about that. It's classic Garth, and it is absolutely something that helped him become a superstar. So I think it's on the perfect spot in this list. I highly agree with number 4. Number 3 on the list is We Shall Be Free. Now, this song is amazing. It's one of my favorites from Garth, trying to get us all again to love one another and to love each other is a message that Garth is 100% known for. He struggles to constantly put himself out there and remind people that we all can make this world a better place. I think that this song is the epitome of that message. I highly agree with the spot on the list. It's definitely in my top 5. I think that overall, this is one of Garth's best songs ever. And that really is because of the message. So that will always be one of my favorites as far as the message goes. Number 2 on the list is Friends in Low Places. I mean, we all saw this coming, right? This is the anthem that Garth will always be known for. And Garth has always said he wanted an anthem. I think this absolutely solidified him being a superstar. It's the anthem he always wanted. It's the anthem he deserves. We all love it. It is without a doubt the highlight of a live Garth show. I highly agree with number 2 on this list because I know what number 1 is going to be, and I agree with it as well. So I think Friends in Low Places is perfectly spotted at number 2. And number 1 on the list, I mean, come on, we all saw this coming, right? The Dance. This is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the greatest songs of all time. And I'm not talking just country songs. I'm talking about the greatest songs of all time. And it was on his debut album. Can you imagine that? This virtually unknown person comes out with The Dance on their debut album. It's just amazing. It solidified Garth as a superstar. So without a doubt, deserves to be number 1 on this list. The Dance by Tony Arata is and will always be what Garth is known for, what made him a superstar. I highly agree, and that is my number 1 song for this as well. Now, before we end the episode, let's look at the songs that were not on the list that I'm shocked are missing from it. Here's the first song on my list of songs that are missing from Coyote Country LV's list of songs that made Garth a superstar. The first one, now granted, this isn't well known, but those of us who are huge fans of Garth absolutely know it. In Lonesome Dove. From Rope in the Wind, this song by Garth Brooks and Cynthia Limbaugh is just the epitome of Garth, and especially when you consider how great he is at story songs, In Lonesome Dove is probably the best story song ever written for Garth. I think it's amazing. The sad tale of a woman who loses her love in the Old West. It's probably one of the, if I had to guess, one of the most requested songs in housekeeping in a Garth live show. And to this day, it's still tragic to me that this song was never released as a single. Number 2 on my list of what's missing from their list, Beaches of Cheyenne. How do you not have Beaches of Cheyenne on a Garth Brooks list of songs that made him a superstar? That's crazy to me. It was the 3rd single from Fresh Horses, another one co-written by Garth, along with Dan Roberts and Brian Kennedy. It was Garth's 15th number 1 song, and I think it definitely deserves to be on any list that proves Garth merits superstardom. The 3rd song that I think is missing from the list is Learning to Live Again by Don Schmitz and Stephanie Davis. This great song, released in 1993, was Garth's 3rd single from The Chase. It peaked at number 2, and this ballad about a widower trying to get back out there and live again is heartbreakingly good in all the feels. As you all know, it's one of my favorite. I talk about it a lot, and I definitely think it should have made this list. The fourth song on my list is That Summer. Now, this was another one from The Chase. That Summer reached number 1 in 1993 and was the fourth single from this awesome album. This coming-of-age, boy becomes a man story is a little bit racy and another of Garth's great story songs. You know beginning, middle, and end of this story, and it's so well written. The music is great. This is classic Garth. And think about it. This song is still included in his set list in 2022, just last year when I saw him at the stadium show, almost 30 years after its release. So I think that definitely proves that this classic Garth song merits his superstardom and should have made their list for sure. All right, here's my last one. Now, I'm going to say probably a lot of you out there won't agree with me on this one, but stick with me. I have my reasons and I'll tell you why. My final one that should have been included on their list is the song Man Against Machine. This rocker from the album of the same name was co-written by Garth Brooks, Larry Bastian, and Jenny Yates. I think it's Garth's most hard-rocking song from any Garth album, and it's truly one of my favorites. Now, if you dig into the lyrics on this one, they are genius. I mean, really look into them. Striking out at the machine of big business, and what I believe he actually is saying, the music industry itself, but also admitting that he is part of that machine. But he's one with a working heart, unlike the system itself. That message is clear, it's well written, and I love it. I think it's actually one of the most well-written songs on an album that includes some really great writing. This song was at the start of his world tour show, the one he did from 2014 to 2017, and he came out starting with this song. I saw that show 5 times, and this song at the start of that tour was one of my all-time favorite openings from a Garth show ever. It's a fantastic rocker. I think it proved that Garth could rock on a level that we hadn't seen before and really haven't seen since. I think this album is without a doubt super underrated. I think that it needs to be looked at again because the album as a whole is fantastic. But if you haven't been listening to this song in particular lately, I highly recommend you listen to Man Against Machine again. Without a doubt, one of my favorites. So there you have it. That is CoyoteCountryLVs.com lists of 30 songs that merit Garth's superstardom, but also an additional 5 songs that I think they left off. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you have other songs that aren't on the list that you think should be added? Let us know by reaching out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Facebook, we can be found at facebook.com/GarthologyCast. On Instagram and Twitter, we are at GarthologyCast. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed learning all about these classic Garth songs that made him a superstar. Have you checked out our website at garthology.com yet? If not, stop by today and check out our past episodes and bonus content. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your podcast platform of choice. Hey, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, could you stop by today and give us a rating and write up a quick review to encourage others to listen? Thanks so much for your support. Thanks again for listening. This is Deb, and I'll see you next time on Garthology. Bye.